You know, it's just gaslighting on a mass scale, because your average person today comes across this ideology that all foods are fine, it's all good, and then they feel as though they feel moral failure, and then it just creates this vicious cycle of yo-yo dieting. We're not being honest about the way that these foods impact behavior. And today, 60% of the calories that your average person consumes comes from ultra-processed foods, which are foods that are highly calorie dense. They are nutrient poor. They are minimally satiating. They're uber delicious. I mean, they push your brain to a bliss point beyond which self-control is. And by the way, it's these ultra-processed foods that are a major route of ingestion for these kinds of chemicals that we're talking about, these industrial chemicals, forever chemicals. Ultra-processed foods are, if you want more phthalates in your body, consume more ultra-processed foods. There was a study that recently was published that found that for every 10% increment in ultra-processed food consumption, pregnant women were ingesting about 14% higher levels of these phthalates, right? I mean, you did such an amazing episode with Shauna Swan a couple years ago talking about the fact that our exposure to these chemicals are reducing the anogenital distance in boys, right? Which is a very easy, well, I don't know about if easy is the right term, but it's a very simple proxy to use to identify how these compounds might be affecting us, right? But that's only what you can observe. Like, how are these chemicals affecting us in other ways?
Right.
And so it's crazy. And these are the kinds of foods that we're just eating en masse, day in and day out. And 60% is the average. Children consume about 70% ultra-processed foods today. On average, Black Americans, unfortunately, consume 80% ultra-processed foods. And there's obviously, this is not all choice.